ladies and gentlemen, LANDOLF RHODE-BARBARIGOS.
All right, let's do this. If you had 100 billion to combat the surging seas, what would you do? Would you plant trees, or would you build a wall? Or maybe take off to another planet? In the coming years, we might be spending more than 100 billion in walls and other structures, just to keep the water out. Seawalls, dunes, and other structures are discussed all across the eastern seaboard, from New York to Charleston, even here in Miami. And it seems that nobody likes walls, except me, maybe. But I'm a structural engineer, I get it, born and raised building structures, some more successful than others. Walls often divide us, but sometimes we also unite over walls. So why so much noise about walls right now? Climate change. From more frequent and extreme storms to unprecedented heat waves, communities all across the globe are feeling its effects. Here in South Florida, we're experiencing the effects of sea level rise, with king tides and sunny day flooding. And then we have hurricanes. Hurricanes bring strong winds and storm surge, which results in flooding. But let's not forget erosion and wave action, which actually makes everything worse. When a wave breaks into a structure, it applies an enormous pressure on it that can move or break the structure if not properly designed. 4 cubic feet of seawater is approximately 250 pounds. 250 pounds, it's also the average weight of a professional football player. Now imagine a wall of football players coming at you. This is what a 4 feet wave action would feel like. So what can we do? How can we protect our structures from the effects of waves? We can reinforce them. I do that. We can elevate them. But considering that the global population, 40% of the global population, lives 100 kilometers from the shoreline, this is definitely a big undertaking. We can also invest in gray infrastructure, gray for cement-based structures, like seawalls. But I'm not sure that we like living inside walls. And a lot of us know that water always finds a way. So what can we do? In physics, we learned that wave energy can be dissipated through friction and wave breaking. So anything that increases friction in front of the waves or makes them break away from the shore is a potential solution, like coral reefs and mangroves, which are part of what we call green nature-based infrastructure. Researchers have shown that coral reefs dissipate up to 97% of wave energy. On the other hand, 300 feet of mangroves can dissipate up to 66% of wave energy. Note that a typical wall is not dissipating wave energy. It bounces back into the ocean. So why do we build walls and we do not invest in corals and mangroves? Corals and mangroves, like us, are all different. They look differently, they grow differently. Fast-growing corals grow 4 to 6 inches per year, while mangroves here in South Florida grow 3 to 4 feet every year in average. With these rates, creating the green protective structures we need, it will take time. And we all know we're running out of time. Nature-based solutions also need space. And for corals, it might be easier to accept because they're underwater. We cannot see them. But sometimes we have to think about them. Now, for mangroves, it's a different story. I'm not sure that we're ready to give our real estate back to nature. However, there's something even more important that we have to acknowledge when we discuss corals and mangroves. Like all living organisms, their growth and mortality depends on multiple factors, from genetics to factors such as temperature and water quality, and can be affected by different events, from storms and diseases to what we, humans, do to the environment. In other words, there is always a scenario where we might lose them because of natural and not so natural causes. And yes, they can bounce back, so let's be optimistic. Our human-made gray structures do get damaged and degrade over time, but are typically less sensitive to these factors. Does this mean they're better than coral reefs and mangroves? Coral reefs and mangroves may be more sensitive and may not protect us directly from flooding because they allow the water to come in. But they do dissipate the wave energy, and they provide other ecosystem services, from habitat and biodiversity to carbon capture. So where do we invest our 100 billion? I argue that to increase our chances of success, we need to diversify our portfolio. We need to invest in short-term, low-risk, low-reward walls, as well as in long-term, high-risk, high-reward corals and mangroves. Somewhere in between these two extremes, there are hybrid solutions, green and gray, solutions that combine marine and coastal ecosystems with human-made structures. Green and gray solutions are relatively new. Scientists and engineers like myself trying to understand and find ways to design structures that can protect us while hosting nature. There are no design guidelines for this, so we need to rethink all aspects, from the way we design, to the forms we use, the materials we employ, and the construction processes we follow. Our tests in SUSTAIN, the wind wave tank at the University of Miami, showed that a breakwater structure with coral skeletons on it can dissipate up to 56% more wave energy compared to the structure without the corals. We also found out that the corals that look like trees, the branching corals, dissipate more wave energy compared to the boulder corals, the rounded ones. This way, we know which corals to use and how to explore coral restoration for shoreline protection. Last March, we took our research to another level, and we deployed a pilot for a hybrid coral reef. We currently monitor the structures, and we wait for them to acclimate before we transplant corals from the nurseries. Yes, there are nurseries where people grow coral babies. We also work with mangroves, and there we integrate mangroves in our structures near the water surface. That's where they like to live. Surprisingly, mangroves grow and flourish when they are protected from waves. Like our hybrid coral reef research, we recently deployed a pilot, and we currently wait for the pilot to establish. There, we will be transplanting mangrove propagules, baby mangroves, and we will monitor the ecological and engineering performance of this green-gray solution. There is no doubt that we still have a lot to learn. And these pilots are actually experiments. So we might not get them right from the beginning. I would be surprised if we do. But the pilots are also a success story by themselves. They represent collaborations between scientists and engineers working to develop better, more sustainable solutions. They're also proof that the local communities, state and federal agencies support such solutions. South Florida is becoming a living laboratory for us. So when we build the wall, because we will need one, we will build it right. And like everything else around climate change, there is no solution that addresses everything. We need a portfolio of solutions. Colors by themselves, green or gray, do not define what is best. So please, do not fall into a camp. Ask questions, educate yourself, and do not hesitate to get involved. Because after all, There is no planet B. Thank you.